Hello, you're on the Ruslan Belov channel. Today we'll discuss the situation in Ukraine as of April 18th, 2025. A huge number of events have taken place today, so let's get started. Well, now let's move to the front line, and we'll begin with the Zaporizhzhia direction. Today, additional news and updates have emerged regarding the assault that the Russian army conducted yesterday toward the settlement of Mala Tokmachka. Let's open this video once again. And in these frames, we can observe how the Ukrainian side is trying to repel the push toward this settlement, Mala Tokmachka. Let me remind you that, according to geolocations and additional materials regarding this strike appeared this morning, there were two offensives. One offensive was along the T-0408 road from Robotyne toward Novodanilivka. But this was a diversionary maneuver. However, even during this maneuver, the Russian side managed to improve its positions on the front line. The main strike came from behind, from the settlement of Novopokrovka. Today, adjustments have been made to the map, and information is coming in that this is exactly how the Russian side advanced from Novopokrovka toward Mala Tokmachka. During the strike we just watched in the video, they managed to fully take control of the southeastern part, including this stronghold, along with a large number of barracks and other structures. That is, the Russian side managed to consolidate its position. And today, the Russian side apparently continued offensive operations or carried out stabilization measures to prevent the Ukrainian side from regaining control. That is, combat actions are ongoing here. At the same time, as you can see from geolocations, the Russian side is now launching massive strikes with drones and FABs. Artillery strikes are targeting positions in the areas of such key points as Pavlivka, Lukyanivska, and Novoyakivka. That is, we can see for ourselves that most likely some kind of supply is moving along this road right now. Additional reserves are being deployed, reinforcements are being brought in to stabilize the situation in the Mala Tokmachka area, and possibly even to organize counterattacks and push Russian units out of their new positions. Right now, there is quite heavy movement here. The Ukrainian side is bringing in reinforcements, and the Russian side is also trying to regroup and bring in fresh forces, since control over the southeastern part of Mala Tokmachka is only the beginning. Everyone clearly understands that the main micro-objective for Russian units is to take control of the former prison, the former colony located in the southern part. This is a kind of citadel, a command center from which, for example, in 2023, the Ukrainian side controlled and organized offensive operations toward Robotyne. This is a serious fortress. If the Ukrainian side loses control over this fortress, it will be a very serious blow to the entire defense of the Ukrainian armed forces on the Orikhiv sector of the front. Speaking of this direction, by the way, one of the brigades from the 2nd Corps is present here. We're talking about the 3rd Operational Purpose Brigade, Spartan, of the National Guard. Well, now we move to the South Donetsk direction, where combat actions continue. Today, a large number of various sources have confirmed information that the armed forces of the Russian Federation launched a decisive assault from the settlements of Konstantinopol-Rozliv toward the settlement of Bohatyr. And already today, some cartographers, mostly only pro-Russian ones, while independent and pro-Ukrainian ones have not yet confirmed this information, have reported that during offensive operations, the Russian army managed to enter the southeastern part of Bohatyr. Fighting is currently ongoing in this sector of the front. Additionally, footage from objective surveillance confirms the advance of Russian units from Rozliv and Constantinople in a western direction, coming from the settlement of Constantinople. Today, Russian sources have published this video, and in these frames we can see how Russian soldiers are helping evacuate the remaining civilians from Constantinople toward, most likely, the settlement of Kursk. That is, here we see the evacuation process itself, how civilians are being led out, shown the way to go. And this evacuation episode took place exactly at this point you see on the map. Based on these frames, today we are finally marking the central part of Constantinople as secured. That is, more and more evidence suggests that yes, the Ukrainian side largely abandoned Constantinople without a fight, as, according to their intelligence, they clearly understood that an assault would begin soon, and of course they attempted to withdraw as much equipment and personnel as possible to minimize the risks of encirclement. And by the way, we've discussed this repeatedly in recent days. We've repeatedly pointed out that along the Constantinople-Bohai road, equipment has been constantly moving. They've been trying to withdraw something. This was the retreat process we've seen, which stretched over several days, 3 to 4 days, and now today, the offensive itself has begun. So far, no objective surveillance footage from the southeastern part of Bohatyr has been published, but most likely it will start appearing soon. West of Bohatyr, along the H-15 highway, Russian drones are already swarming by the dozens, even hundreds, monitoring all supply routes and controlling the entire infrastructure, preventing Ukrainian units from reinforcing Bohatyr. At the same time, they are also blocking Ukrainian forces that have decided, or received orders, to retreat further toward Komar, making it impossible for them to maneuver without losses. In other words, a decisive assault has begun here, and it appears that a battle for the initiative will rage for several days, after which a turning point will likely be reached. Next, we move to the Pokrovsk sector of the front. This is the second offensive that Zelensky mentioned yesterday. He stated that the Russian side had launched an attack toward Pokrovsk, deploying an enormous amount of equipment and personnel. It's worth noting that the offensive was conducted on the eastern flank, in the triangle formed by Yelizavetivka, Mirolyubivka, and Malinivka. We've discussed this sector of the front many times before. For instance, I had assumed that the strike would most likely target the settlements of Malinivka and Mirna. At least, this was suggested by the large amount of objective surveillance footage published since early April, showing airstrikes and artillery bombardments leveling these two settlements. But today, Russia decided not to take risks by advancing through open fields to the north or attempting to assault this stronghold located right in the middle of the fields. Instead, they chose to attack along the shortest possible route toward Mirolyubivka. Footage was published today, and pay attention. The video showing the repulsion of another Russian assault wave was released by the 14th Brigade Chervona Kalina, which is part of the 1st Corps of the National Guard of Ukraine's armed forces. This is a very important detail. If we look at this entire sector, not just Pokrovsk, but the broader Pokrovsk-Kostiantynivka direction, we can see that 3 out of the 5 brigades of the 1st Corps are concentrated here. First and foremost is the Chervona Kalina Brigade itself, positioned near Mirolyubivka. It was their responsibility yesterday to repel the Russian attack. On the western flank is another brigade, the 15th Operational Purpose Brigade Karadag, and in the area of Toretsk and Novorodske, on the Kostiantynivka axis, is the Azov Brigade, banned in Russia and officially designated as a terrorist organization. So we can see that along the front from Kostiantynivka to Pokrovsk, the 1st Corps of Ukraine's National Guard is deployed, which suggests that this unit, formed from the remnants of the 12th Brigade, which was encircled and trapped in Mariupol before being exchanged, is now bearing the brunt of the decisive battle of 2025, the battle for the Pokrovsk-Kostiantynivka arc. And today this movement has gradually begun to unfold. Based on geolocations we've identified from footage published by Chervona Kalina, Russian units were confirmed to have entered Mirolyubivka. It's still unclear whether the Russian army managed to develop this offensive, consolidate positions, reach the outskirts, or if fierce counterfighting is now underway. But I'll repeat, this is not a battle against just any Ukrainian brigade. This is the Russian army clashing with the 1st Corps, meaning we're already seeing the forces of a major decisive battle, at least on the Ukrainian side. Next, we move to the Kleban-Beek direction. Over the past 24 hours, the Russian army has slightly straightened the front line between the settlements of Kalinov and Valentinivka. This information was published today by several pro-Russian analysts. Additionally, the Russian Ministry of Defense confirmed that the South Group of forces, during decisive offensive operations, completely cleared the settlement of Valentinivka. Let me remind you that yesterday, objective control footage was published showing 2 Russian soldiers raising flags over this village. Today, the Russian Ministry of Defense has officially confirmed this. The Russian army continues its advance, and heavy fighting is now ongoing for the village of Sukha-Balka. After its capture, a minor turning point is expected, allowing Russian units to push further toward Romanivka, Zare, and Stara Mykolaiivka. There is, of course, a large amount of objective control footage, artillery strikes, FAB bombs, Sontsepiok, thermobaric systems, drone operations. But so far, there are no active offensive moves or counterattack attempts from the Ukrainian armed forces. Instead, it's a duel, drone versus drone, artillery versus artillery. But gradually, the bridgehead is being prepared for the next wave of offensive operations, at least toward the Shevchenko district. In these frames, we can see Russian forces striking this district with thermobaric weapons. So it's possible that movement will soon begin in this sector as well. Finally, we move to the Borov, Lyman direction. Today, the first objective control footage emerged, allowing us to update the map regarding the village of Nova. Now pay attention, this is how the map looked just yesterday. Most of the settlement of Nova was under Ukrainian control, but by the end of April 17th, according to several cartographers and analysts, the village of Nova was already caught in a pincer movement. Russian forces had tightened their grip from both the south and the north. Today, on April 18th, a large number of geolocations have emerged that indirectly confirm the presence of Russian troops in this settlement. Why do I say indirectly? Because in these frames, we can see a Ukrainian drone flying toward the southern part of the village. And after the drone entered the area, a strike was launched on a building. However, in this footage, we don't see a single frame showing, say, a Russian soldier. Presumably they hid from the drone, but still. A similar situation occurred in the northern part of Nova. 2 videos were published showing FPV drone strikes on buildings in that sector. According to Ukrainian sources, these strikes targeted Russian forward positions in the village. Again, none of these 3 videos actually show Russian soldiers. So it's possible that troops were present, or at least sabotage reconnaissance groups. In any case, cartographers and analysts are gradually updating the map, marking Russian control over the central, northern and southern parts of the village. That said, it's unlikely the Ukrainian side would strike empty buildings for no reason. And we have seen intense fighting here over the past few days, so it's possible the Ukrainian defense in this sector has collapsed. Next, we move slightly north to the classic Borov direction. Today, footage was published of clashes between Russian and Ukrainian forces near the settlements of Zelenyi High and Lozova. Here, Russian troops launched a limited offensive, managing to slightly improve their frontline positions. A minor advance has been confirmed, and we've updated the map based on objective control footage. North of Kupyansk, after a long lull, the front line has become active again. Today, footage emerged from the Ukrainian side. Their sources published multiple videos of combat near Mala Shapkivka and along the R79 highway. A series of counterattacks were launched, and all of them indirectly confirm Russian control over certain sections. In other words, earlier reports from pro-Russian analysts about fighting near Mala Shapkivka and Klishchiivka have proven accurate, but the battle here is still ongoing. Now let's move to the Vovchansk sector, which has seen increased activity in recent days. For almost 2 days straight, objective control footage has been published showing Russian aviation and artillery striking crossings, pontoon sites, and embankments along the Vovcha River, which runs from Vovchansk northeast toward the state border. If we look at the updates since the start of the week, the majority of strikes have targeted these crossings. Ukrainian logistics are being systematically destroyed, and it appears Russia may soon attempt to push deeper into Kharkiv Oblast from the border, aiming to fully secure the Vovcha River and possibly even begin crossing it to advance toward the Oskil River. Anything could happen here. Events may unfold unpredictably. Finally, we turn to the Sumy direction, where the Russian army continues its assault on the settlement of Hornal. After massive artillery preparation, Russian troops launched a decisive attack. Today, there's a slight adjustment to the front line, as you can see on the map. Pro-Russian channels published footage showing combat near the monastery, and in this 4-minute video, several clips confirm that Russian units are now in close proximity to the village. As of the evening of April 18th, heavy fighting is ongoing in Hornal, a fierce battle that may result in Russia announcing the full clearing of the village and a push to the state border by tomorrow morning. As for Oleshnya, there's no new information. The lack of updates suggests Ukrainian forces are still holding their positions there, with no immediate plans to retreat. That said, there's already some speculation, small predictions, that Russia aims to fully secure Kursk Oblast by May 1st or May 9th, Victory Day. We might see something along those lines soon. And that's all for now, friends. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, leave your likes, and take care.